All right, sorry about that. Computer issues. We crashed, but it's all good. We're going to jump into our next topic. We're going to go a break, but I guess that's our break anyway. So let's get into our next topic here. So it looks like Mac Jones and the offense of the Patriots are clicking finally. It's been a long time since Mac Jones, Patriots offense have come together in unison and have somewhat worked. But now, with Bill O'Brien commanding the offense, it looks like everything is going back to the way it should be, and that's what Mac Jones said. In an OTA, where the first OTA where they allowed media to ask players and coaches questions, Mac Jones had to say it's been really good, it's been normal. I feel like everyone is on the same page. Weird how he used the word normal. So I want to know, based on Mac Jones's comments, how confident are you that the Patriots' problems will be fixed after, good reports have come out so far in OTAs?
Yeah, I think that they'll be a lot better, that's for sure. Whether they fix everything or not remains to be seen, but they'll certainly be a lot better. They're going to have a more rhythm and exacting offense, as I read about it, that there'll be a lot of timing plays and, exact routes and that kind of an offense. So we'll have to see. That's the kind of offense Bill O'Brien likes. Mac Jones seems to be saying the right things, and maybe he's a little happier with the way things are going. Whether he perform on the field and not make mistakes that cost him the game or not, we'll have to wait and see. And whether Bailey Zappi can give him a run for his money also remains to be seen. And both of them have done very well so far in the OTAs. So won't be long before they'll be playing preseason, right? It's in June now, so can't wait for that to happen. I'm wondering what's going to happen with DeAndre Hopkins. He's out there. There's a lot of noise about the Patriots maybe picking him up, but he doesn't fit into their culture very well is one of the major criticisms. So I don't know what's going to happen there. It would be good to have somebody like him in a lot of ways. I mean, they don't really have many people you can call elite talent on the Patriots, and that is what Hopkins can be, although his head is maybe not very elite.
All right, well, it's interesting because I think we have let's bring up. Okay, no, we don't. I thought we had the clip of, here we go, Mac Jones. This is one of his throws at Tyquan Thornton. I mean, it's an absolute laser. And supposedly Miles Bryant was in coverage, but you can't even see him. Can't even see him. Mac Jones hit him with an absolute laser. It's a pretty good deep pass too, just rainbowing in right there.
Yeah.
I can tell, actually, you've criticized this throw before because it's not a line drive throw. It's a rainbow throw. Yeah. So it's more of a deposit than it is, catch and go. So we'll see. I have a lot of faith in Mac Jones, but we do also have to realize that this is their schedule. They are playing extremely tough teams. You start out with, the Eagles, who were going for the all-time sack record last year, and they almost had it. Then you go up against the Dolphins with now Jalen Ramsey on that defense. You also have Bradley Chubb on that defense. Then you go in with the Jets.
Jalen Ramsey had a terrible season last year.
He had a pretty bad season, I will give you that. The Jets, who just had the number 4 ranked defense last year. The Cowboys, who always have a top 5 defense. The Saints' defensive line isn't as good as it was last year. They missed out on a lot of pieces. They should be a little bit worse. The Raiders, you got Mad Max Crosby. You got Chandler Jones. We know what happened last year with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Goodbye, N'Keal Harry.
Now the Raiders have...
and Jacoby Myers.
Now the Raiders have Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, no, for the same contract Juju. I don't know why. The Bills have always given the Patriots trouble. Again, the Dolphins. The Commanders should be a win. The Colts, they were a mess last year. Will they recover with Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew at quarterback? The Giants have a pretty good defense. Chargers, will they be better with Khalil Mack, with Joey Bosa, with what's his name, Derwin James and J.C. Jackson? I mean, the names I just listed off are great players. They didn't come together, and J.C. Jackson was horrible with the Chargers.
Well, he was hurt. He was hurt.
Yeah, but before that, he was terrible.
I know.
The Steelers, Mike Tomlin always gets his teams together. They added a lot of great pieces, so who knows what will happen there. The Chiefs, their defense is questionable, but it's Pat Mahomes. The Broncos, I mean, they had the number. They had actually the number 1 passing defense last year. They have Asante Samuel. Oh no, they have Pat Surtain too. By the way, Asante Samuel on the Chargers. Forgot to mention him. Pat Surtain, he was a great quarterback last year. So the Patriots are going to run into a lot of problems. A lot of problems. And we're going to leave it up to Mac Jones and this team. I mean, right now, I'm loving everything I'm hearing coming out of OTAs. And what we actually asked this question not too long ago about how the offense would look, what kind of sets would they be running. Lo and behold, the report is the Patriots ran a lot of 2 tight end sets in OTAs. Looks like Bill O'Brien is going back to that 2 tight end set, which I think would have been perfect if Bill O'Brien came in last year, had Jonnu Smith, a more mobile, agile tight end, instead of vertical route runner Mike Gesicki. But you know what? It is what it is. We got to sort of just eat the meal that we've given. So,
well, I think the Patriots will be better on defense, and they had a very good defensive year last year. They drafted some pretty good-looking talent, particularly the cornerback that they drafted from Oregon.
Right.
I think their defense will be very good next year, this year coming up.
I mean, they definitely should be because they added a bunch of pieces.
They had a lot of sacks too last year, right?
They did. It's just whether or not Judon will have. And by the way, Judon is having career years with the Patriots. He was pretty good with I believe he was with the Ravens. On the Patriots, he immediately started with double-digit sacks, and in large part, for most of the start of the past 2 seasons, was leading the league in sacks. Can he keep that up with consistency? That'll be the big question. I'm forgetting his name. It was number 8 on the Patriots. He had double-digit sacks as well.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm forgetting his name. I can't remember, but
I'll think of
he got snubbed for the Pro Bowl. He was better than some of those edge rushers that were picked for the Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the Patriots defense has always been pretty good. You also get arguably the best cornerback, Christian Gonzalez. He should be very good. So,
Uche. They have Uche.
They do. That was the guy I was thinking about. Yeah, Josh Uche.
But that's not number 8.
So what number is he? No, number 8's Bentley, isn't it?
Bentley, yeah.
Yeah.
Juwan Bentley.
So who then? What? Why am I forgetting? What was it? Number 55?
Judon. Uche is 55.
Uche is 55. So there you go. Yeah. So, I mean, this Patriots team, I'm loving what I'm hearing. I just have to face reality and say you're playing against teams that are incredibly difficult, like top tier teams.
Yeah, well, they think they have the third hardest schedule in the league this year.
I saw on some other legitimate football analysts put them having the hardest schedule. Now I saw most of them had the third hardest based on winning record. Last year, but I think the Sharps had them as the hardest schedule, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, think about it. The only teams you're really missing are the Ravens and the Bengals to make this and the 49ers to make this nearly impossible to win a game. I mean, if those 3 teams were in there, yeah, I see the Patriots maybe could go 0-17. Realistically, if you take out the Saints, Raiders, and Colts and put in the 49ers, Bengals, and Ravens, the Patriots wouldn't win a game.
Yeah, well, thankfully, they're not in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. But honestly, I'm loving what I'm hearing, but the reality is it's Mac Jones people who think is terrible. You have a new offense with Bill O'Brien, who right now it looks like everything's coming together pretty well. The weapons are still a big question mark. Your running game is Ramondre Stevenson and Ty Montgomery and Pierre Strong. So it's really Ramondre Stevenson and who? And really nobody, because you let Damian Harris go, which told you.
Did they draft a running back?
Let's look here. They got J.J. Taylor, Pierre Strong, James Robinson. I forgot about him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, was it Kevin Harris? Was he there last year? Yes, he was there last year.
Yeah.
So
he was pretty good, actually.
Right now, according to the roster list
they let Damian Harris go?
I told you before the season.
Who'd he go to?
I'm not too sure about that. There's a team in my head, but I don't want to get this wrong. So I'll tell you when I get it. But think about it. I told you, by the way, they would let Damian Harris go. The contract situation wasn't going to work out. Even though he had, I think, double-digit touchdowns, not last year, but the year before. He plays currently for the Bills. That's right. Number 22.
He went to the Bills.
Went to the Bills, yeah.
Did they trade him to the Bills, or he was released?
No, last year was the last year of his contract. I think it was a 5th-year option. They didn't resign him. He wanted decent money. The Patriots, I told you, wouldn't give it to him because they didn't think he was all that, and he was dealing with injuries as well. Yeah. So it really wasn't that great for Damian Harris. But it's really Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think James Robinson is going to have a great season. Truthfully, I don't.
I believe Damian Harris could have a really good season with the Bills. You know?
Maybe. Maybe
he get a chance to play there, right? They don't. The Bills' running game was lousy last year.
As long as he stays healthy.
All they have is who's their running back?
Who the
for the Bills? Singletary.
Singletary's there. Yeah. They also have Dalvin Cook's brother, James Cook.
Yeah, and didn't they get a guy from the Colts? Yeah, they have him too.
Oh yeah, he was the one that had a kick return.
Yeah, two kick returns for touchdowns in the last game.
Nyheim Hines, that's right.
Hines, yeah.
They also have Latavius Murray as well.
Yeah,
he's bounced around the league recently. So, I mean, really, the Patriots they're in one of the hardest divisions in football now, which is crazy to say. The AFC is stacked. They have to live and die through the AFC. I mean, the only teams you can really beat, I'll show this once again, the only teams you could beat up on in the NFC are the Saints, maybe, and the Commanders.
And the Colts, maybe.
Well, I was talking about the NFC.
NFC, yeah.
Those are really the only two teams.
Yeah. We'll see whether the Giants are for real. I'm not so sure.
I don't want to rip on them yet. Because, you know what, I've ripped on them way too much. I think it's honestly, I think it's given because the Giants have been horrible over the years. However, I'm going to be a believer. I'm going to be a believer because Daniel Jones has weapons. He had what used to be a top 3 tight end in Darren Waller, top 5 tight end if you want to, and stretch it out a little bit. We can argue top 3. A couple of years ago, he was a great tight end. So as long as he stays healthy, Daniel Jones should have no problem getting back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
0, and especially in the depleted NFC. So I don't know. I'm nervous. I still think 7-10 is where the Patriots are going to go. Realistically, the hope is to get somewhere near 8, 9, 10 wins and make the playoffs. But you're going to need some major luck to get there.
Yeah.
Unless Mac Jones has a phenomenal year and becomes, a top 5 quarterback.
We'll see if DeAndre
league.
Hopkins comes to the Patriots. I mean,
That'll be
Bill O'Brien coached him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm hearing rumors, whether or not they're true. I guess, supposedly...
they brought other players in that didn't fit the culture very well.
Randy Moss? Antonio Brown?
Right, and they wound up, Antonio Brown, they let go.
He was there for 5 minutes, but he did play a game and looked really good in that game.
Yeah.
I go back every once in a while to see that. He had 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. He actually was pretty good for the Patriots. But he's there for all about 5 minutes before, he became Antonio Brown again. So the Patriots have had problems have signed players with pasts. And
they fit in. They fit in. So maybe they will pick up Hopkins.
And I've seen a rumor DeAndre Hopkins likes how Mac Jones is looking right now in OTAs, and he seems fine with being coached again by Bill O'Brien. They had a huge rift in Houston. He got traded for about a piece of paper. He just
got released by the Cardinals.
And supposedly it's because he can't run anymore. He can't create separation, which I don't know about that. I really don't know about that, but scouts and reports, I don't know if I truly believe that, but we will see. It looks like the Chiefs and Bills are right now going for it. They're the leaders right now to get DeAndre Hopkins. But if he goes to the Patriots, there's a little audio clip, Patriots-Cardinals game. Belichick was talking up DeAndre Hopkins. So maybe, wishful thinking would say he goes to the Patriots.
They could use an elite player.
They need a true wide receiver 1. But I did make a prediction he'll go to the Bills, but we will see in due time. Let's get into our last topic today because I think it's interesting. A lot of questions going out about this playoff series between the Celtics and the Heat going down 3-0 and being a little wavery against the Hawks. What's going on? Are they good? What's happening with the Celtics? And Brad Stevens says, Missoula will be back, and we'd love to have Jaylen Brown back as well. So I want to know. You were not a huge believer in Missoula, at least during the playoffs. You liked them being throughout the season, but in the playoffs, a little wavering on Europe, a little bit. So I want to know, do you think it's smart for the Celtics to stick with Missoula as their head coach at least next season and probably
I think
forward?
they have to. I mean, I don't think they should have made him the full-time coach. Given him the full-time job during the year. They should have left him as an interim for the whole year this year. Partway through the year, they gave it to him. After that, the Celtics seemed to be a little, they weren't as consistent. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but he's got I'm sure he figures he learned a lot in this playoff series, right? He made some mistakes. in the timing of taking timeouts and some of his substitutions and changing the starting lineup and things. It didn't always work out so well for him. He's a young guy. He's committed. Danny Ainge came out and supported him, said he's a better coach than Udoka. So he needs to get the Celtics to play better defense. I mean, they definitely leaned on the three-pointer and offense a little too heavily, and it cost them. They need to get back to playing fundamental defense and not turning the ball over. My God, the turnovers were terrible in the last game of the series there, and I think they got to look at the team and decide whether they want to make a few changes there. I do think they will bring back Jaylen Brown. It's going to cost them a lot of money, but I think trading him right now, they might not get as much for him as if he has a chance to rebound from a playoff series, which was a little checkered. I mean, he had a bunch of turnovers and trying to drive into the lane, losing the ball. I think he didn't shoot so well from three. So he didn't have the kind of playoff series that he had last year. He took a little bit of a step back, but I do think they will sign him. And, if he has a really good year and they still don't make it next year, then maybe they'll trade him. I don't know. I do think they'll probably look at Brogdon and who's their other guard? Not Smart, the other
Peyton
one.
Pritchard?
Pritchard, yeah. I think those guys might be gone. They may try to get them out of there to get another big guy because Al Horford is getting old.
Yeah.
And it showed a little bit in the playoffs. I mean, play an 82-game season and then the playoffs and those games, two of them series went 7 games. I think it's maybe he's getting just a little bit old, and his three-point shooting was not good in the playoffs this year. So I do think they're going to make some changes. I think the core three there, Smart, Brown, and Tatum will still be there next year. Mazzulla will be the head coach. They're going to bring in a strong assistant under him. If he doesn't do really well, he's going to be looking over his shoulder at that assistant who might wind up being the next head coach. So we'll have to wait and see.
I think it's interesting, and I've defended Mazzulla, and I'm not putting this series on Joe Mazzulla. Now, he may put it on himself because he's the head coach, and that's sort of what you do as a head coach. And he said in interviews, "This on me. I didn't get the guys ready. I didn't get them going." At some point, you got to realize Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics just didn't come to play. I mean, Game 7 was not on Mazzulla. Game 7 was just on the inability of the Celtics to make shots. I mean, in Game 6 and 7, their 3-point totals, do I still have the number here? I do. They shot 16 of 77, which is 20.7% in totality of Game 6 and 7. They could not hit a 3 for the life of them, and I thought it was a very ceremonious end to the Celtics season. Because guess what? Mazzulla and Ime Udoka have two different play styles. Ime Udoka, old school, heavy defense, commit 110% on both sides of the court. Mazzulla is a 3 guy. He's new school, 3 ball. Let's focus on the 3. That's why Derek White was in the starting lineup. Derek White last year was on the bench. However, look what happened in the series. The Celtics, they can get hot from 3. We saw it in Game 4. In Game 4. They could not miss from 3. In Game 5, they were even hotter. So I think they started, what was it? They had 15 to 5 early in the first quarter, one of those games. They could not miss from 3. They had like 41% shooting from 3 in one of those games. And in Game 6 and 7, now they did win Game 6. However, they finally died by the 3. So, but it wasn't Udoka's fault. It wasn't like...
Well, why did they fall apart in Games 6 and 7 in the 3-point shooting? What do you think it was?
It wasn't because they were afraid to shoot a 3.
That's for sure. They shot 77 of them.
They just... I mean, I really just... This. I'm not putting this on Mazzulla whatsoever. I mean, if you...
But why'd they do so poorly when they were a great 3-point shooting team all season? How come they fell apart in those last 2 games? What was it, do you think?
I really just think they don't... I mean, first of all, Tatum does not have this killer mentality, this drive, this high motor. He doesn't. He does not take over games. I think, honestly, it was just, it simply was, at least in game 6 and 7, they may have gotten complacent. I think in game 7, they were like, okay, we just won 3 straight games. We just beat them in game 6 on a buzzer beater. They were this close to putting us away. They're not ready. And then they came out in game 7 and the Heat were like, no. We got this. This is our series. I think they honestly took one step back where they should have taken 2 steps forward. Instead, they took one step back and the Heat just ran right by them in game 7. I just think the Celtics just did not care enough to win. I mean, Marcus Smart was hitting threes. I mean,
he didn't have a good game 7.
No one had a good game 7.
Well, Derek White did.
Derek White had an okay game 7. But Al Horford also could not hit a 3 for the life of him. So, yeah, you bring up Al Horford. I'm not saying he has to go because
I think they'll bring him back.
I do think veteran leadership is big on that team, especially when your superstars are 26, 27 years old. I do think it's important. I was actually going back and forth on whether or not they should bring back Jaylen Brown, and I thought it'd be a better idea to bring him back than to let him go and trade him away.
I mean, they have made the conference finals 3 years in a row.
And ever since Marcus Smart got there in 2014-15, that season, they haven't even missed the playoffs. They made 5 conference finals. They made NBA finals. So this team together is super young, and they haven't missed the playoffs yet. It's just about getting over that hump. What can they do to be a championship team? And honestly, truthfully...
Well, they had it last year. They played better defense.
But it was because...
last year they made the finals because they played better defense. That's what they need to do.
Also,
they need to play better
Jason
defense.
Tatum didn't have these ups and downs.
I don't know. He had to turn the ball over 100 times in the playoffs last year.
Right. He was dropping 40 points here, 40 points there, 45 points there, going 1-for-1 with Giannis. Now it was like 25 points, 31 points, 32 points. He had one game where he had 51 points. One game. But then it went straight back down to nothing. And then Jaylen Brown wasn't this consistency. It was more.
He didn't have a good playoff.
It was more the flip. It was consistently poor. His 3-point shooting was terrible. I think it was game 7 or game 6. They combined for 17 or something from 3. It was terrible to see. I'm going to look up the starting lineup of the Celtics here last season because I'm trying to remember who the shooting guard was last season because it wasn't Derek White.
Jaylen Brown.
They
started Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, Tatum, and Williams.
Okay. And that was the lineup they should have gone with. But
they did. They did go with that.
They did.
For
then
a
they
while.
went down 0-3, and then it was like, okay, let's switch it up. Oh no, they switched up in game 3 when they lost.
No, they switched it up in the Philadelphia series.
No. But then he reverted it.
Then he reverted it, and they lost.
And they started losing.
Yeah.
And then they started winning after. I think game 3 he switched. And I came on the show and said it wasn't your quarter 1, 2, and 3 that you needed to score more points. It was quarter 4. Which made no sense in my mind why you would put your 3-point shooting team out to start with when your quarters 1 to 3 weren't the problem. So I don't know if it's Mazzulla needs to just be harder coaching.
He needs to coach defense. They need to play better defense. They need to bring in an assistant coach that's a really good defensive mind. I think that would help them.
Would you stick with the smaller 3-point shooting lineup though, and just hope that you could coach hard defense into them? Or would you go back to the tough defensive one?
I think I'd bring back the same team. I mean,
you
why
would bring
not?
back the same team.
They made the conference finals. They went 7 games in the conference finals, and even though they went a kind of a weird way to get there, they did go 7 games in the conference finals. They blew it in the last game, but they had a good season. You can't say they didn't. They were the number 2 seed, so they lost to the 8th seed, but. And Miami was in the conference finals last year. I don't know why they had such a terrible regular season.
I believe they're also the number 1 seed last year as well.
Yeah, so I don't know why they had such a poor regular season, but they are a playoff team. They are They have experience in the playoffs. So I think that the Celtics will basically bring back the same team.
I think that's actually a pretty good idea, but you need to put someone in there because when they got Malcolm Brogdon, I think the problem last year was they didn't have a true point guard. They did not have a true distributor.
They didn't let him be a starter.
He
was a 6th man.
I believe they started him in the starting lineup early in the season, and when he wasn't getting the production he needed, that's when he went back down to 6th man. I believe they did start him for the beginning of the season. I think I'm remembering that. But then he wasn't really that guy, and he was a six man.
I think they should hang on to him, personally.
I do as well. But if you want to get a good distributor, you got to at least give up maybe a Marcus Smart.
They're not going to bring him. But if they want to play better defense, they're going to hang on to him. Then right? He's a very good defensive player. Maybe Danilo Gallinari is going to come back, right?
Gallinari.
Right? Maybe. They have him, right? He's a very good three-point shooter. He can come off the bench, and he's big. He's huge.
Yeah.
Right? So he's old. Yeah, that's the only problem, maybe.
34. He's going to be 35 by the start of next season.
Yeah.
He didn't play this year, but last season.
What injury did he have? It was,
ACL, I believe. Towards ACL in the was it preseason or in the off season? I'm trying to remember.
It was the off season.
It was before anyone was playing true basketball. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Celtics do moving forward. I think it's a smart idea to bring Mazzulla back. I mean, think about it.
You can't fire him. I mean,
he
he's
won
a young
more
guy.
games than Ime Udoka. He won more games. So I think he won six more games than Udoka did. So it's not like he destroyed the Celtics team. Hell, he made them.
Udoka had a better playoff team, last year than they had this year.
No, yeah, I agree.
was more consistent. They played better defense. They made it to the finals.
Right. No, and Udoka did give them their best defensive rating since 2011-2012, which is incredibly impressive. But however, I'm looking at it here. Mazzulla did give the Celtics their best offensive rating in the entire history of the Boston Celtics.
Really?
So they were incredible offensively. Defensively though, they were not too good. They were not too good. It was about same as Brad Stevens last year as head coach defensively, which that season ended with going out, I believe, in the first round to the Brooklyn Nets, if I'm not mistaken. So Brad Stevens is holding on to Joe Mazzulla. I don't think that's a terrible idea. We'll see how the Celtics rebound off this, whether or not they keep Jaylen Brown. That's going to be a huge question mark. Whether or not they sign him to that Supermax extension, which is $295 million, I believe.
Unbelievable. How can they have salaries like that? I don't get it. Yeah.
It's a good question.
How many years is that for?
5.
5 years, $295 million.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined, both on Supermaxes, $613 million.
What is Jason Tatum's contract? Where does he stand in his contract?
Well, how many years left or the price?
The years left.
Let's see. I'll look at it. I don't have this in front of me. Jason Tatum, he was on. Let's see. He's on a player option in what's 2023. In 2 years, 2025, 2026, he has a player option. He won't be an official unrestricted free agent until 2026.
I see.
So he's still got a couple years left.
Yeah.
So he could get that extension for over $300 million.
They won't let him get to the player option year. After next year, if they do well, they're gonna give him some big deal too.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
So Mazzulla back, more wins than Udoka. Defense was not great. However, they were third in defensive rating and they allowed the fifth fewest points in the league. But
this past year,
yeah, they in opponent points per game, the Celtics were I have it in front of me. Give me 1 second. I just had it. They were fifth, 111.4 points a game.
They were one last year. The year before, yeah.
Yes, no, they were number one, and also second defensive rating. They were third this year, but they weren't as good offensively. So you gave up a little bit, but it seemed honestly last year was Tatum just exploding. Tatum had phenomenal games, and honestly, it was Grant Williams in Game 7 against the Bucs. He had 1,000 threes in that game to actually push them beyond. Tatum didn't have a great game in Game 7 against the Bucs. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to be very interested to see what this team does moving forward. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. A lot of players could potentially be available. Fred VanVleet's available. James Harden. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Karis LeVert, who's a pretty good defensive guard. He could be a free agent this year coming from the Cavs. So they might want to maybe Marcus Smart for Karis LeVert. Maybe something like that.
I don't think so. They're going to give up on Marcus Smart.
I'm throwing names out there. I don't really believe that.
They might add a guard, though. Maybe they could add a guard, I think.
Trade away Derek White, maybe get another shooter.
They ain't going to trade away Derek White.
I am saying.
Derek White is.
Derek White has value.
Gold. He's gold.
Exactly. You could trade him.
But why trade him? You want to keep him. He's good.
Well,
They're not going to trade Derek White. Come on. That's not happening.
How about this? If they get rid of Derek White, would you want James Harden on the Celtics?
No.
Oh, really?
James Harden is he's inconsistent. Look at the series in the Philadelphia.
Right.
Philadelphia.
But he did drop 40 twice.
Yeah, but he was horrible in the last game.
No, I agree with that. He was not very good.
Yeah.
But
he's too old. If 4 years ago, I would say yes. Not
4 years ago, James Harden was an MVP. So
yeah, well, that's why I'd say yes. But
think about this.
Now.
Think about this. James Harden dropped 40 plus points twice in a playoff series. Derek White's career high is 33 points.
Yeah. Well, maybe they could hang on to Derek White and also get James Harden. He's a free agent, right?
Oh, but wait, I just realized you need to pay him a bunch of money that they're not going to have.
Yeah, they're not going to have it.
Because they're going to give it all to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Oh, just based on that, you might want to get off Jaylen Brown. I'm not saying they should, but you may have to if you want to get keep this franchise afloat because the new
they made it to the conference finals. They went 7 games.
I know, but they were down 3-0.
Right. Yeah,
they did not look like they were together
they
as a team.
made mistakes along the way, but they can correct those.
No.
I don't think they're blowing the team up. Nor should they.
I could agree with that.
I do think they could add a piece.
Definitely.
Maybe a big guy. It would be nice to have a real, maybe through the draft. Are there any good big guys in the draft?
Well, you're not going to get the guy, Victor Wembanyama. He's going number 1 to the Spurs probably. You got to look at it. I'm not sure. I'm curious to see what the Celtics do. There's a lot of questions.
They don't have a first round pick, I don't think, in the draft.
I don't know.
It's a second rounder.
So we will see. They may trade it away, get someone. Who knows? But
Grant Williams, maybe they get rid of him.
They got. I appreciate.
I think he's a free agent anyway.
I appreciate Grant Williams. I don't think they should keep him. Truthfully, I don't. I appreciate what he's done. He's not worth it. I think
he's a free agent.
He shot too many offers. Several games where he shot 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 5. No, thank you. But it is what it is. This will be the end of this episode of the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Catch us Monday. We got Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Hopefully more NFL news. But we will see 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Monday right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
Podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.